Hello. Today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make lap joints, called half lap joints, to interlock basically two long pieces of wood. They're going to kind of interlock with each other like this, and we're going to use it to build table legs. So the first thing we did is we started off with some just 4x4s. You can see that they're kind of rounded edges. I ran them all through the planer to get them everything nice and square, smooth. You can see these ones have straight edges. It's a lot nicer to look at the end. Looks a little bit cleaner, more well done, I think. Alright, so the table leg that we're going to make is this. So this is about 28 by 34 or something like that, right around there. But you can see these two pieces. There's two large pieces of 4x4s that they interlock right here to make our sturdy legs. Alright, so we're going to use this as a tabletop. We'll do another version of this, and then we'll connect it with a piece in the middle, and we'll go through all of that. So the first thing you're going to do is get all the materials you need. So again, we're using 4x4s. So I have these all planed down, sanded, ready to go. We're going to be using a speed square. So the speed square is going to help us get 45-degree angles. The angles on the table right here are set up at 45, which makes these right here in the middle at 90 degrees, which makes it a little bit easier to work with. So we don't have to any complicated angles to do. So we're going to do them at 45 today. You're going to want a chisel. And how we're going to make the half laps today, because these are thicker pieces of wood, we're going to use a circular saw. So I'll show you how to use the circular saw to do it. If you're doing with smaller pieces of wood, you could be using the table saw on a crosscut sled to get all of those different cuts, as well as possibly even using a router to cut out the pieces that we don't need. So again, we're going to take a chunk out of these, and they're going to interlock with each other, and that's what's going to be a strong, sturdy base for the table that we're making. So for each side of the table, you're going to use two of these pieces. So you can see that the channel is notched out of there. Once both of them interlock together to make that X pattern. Alright, our first step is to cut these 4x4 pieces to the right height that we need them for their final position once they're laying down at a 45-degree angle. So we're just going to cut the 45 degrees on two pieces. Then we're going to measure and cut to where it needs to be. So first step is changing the miter saw up to 45-degree angle. A lot of them have an automatic lock-in system right there, and that's what we're going to do. So to make my first cut, just lock it in. Leg needs to be 39 inches from top to bottom, so we're going to measure that out, mark it with the speed square, and then cut that as well. Using my speed square will make it exactly 45 degrees, and I can just cut along that line, so now I'm in a good position. also make sure that the cuts, you don't want to change the saw, you want them to be parallel for this part, because one's going to go on the floor, one's going to go at the top of the tabletop. Alright, so the next step we have to do is to basically figure out where the channel is that we're going to take it out. So I've already measured it. It's going to be 19 1/8 of an inch. So you want to measure it out. 19 1/8 of an inch here. Mark it. Mark on this one. And then because we cut our size at 45 degrees, the middle is going to be exactly 90 degrees. So it makes it convenient for us to do it that way. Alright, so this measurement needs to be the same as the first piece. Alright, now what we're going to cut out is halfway through this thickness of this 4x4. So we want to cut out this half right here, and how we're going to do that is on the circle saw. And so that is what we're going to do next once we get it lined up and set up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the 90-degree marks that we have. We're going to take all that material out in between. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to cut each line. You want it to be on the inside of your pencil mark, okay? Because the pencil marks are exactly the thickness of the wood, so you don't want it to be bigger than that. Otherwise, the joint's going to be loose and it's going to be able to move. We want it to be snug and tight, just so they interlock with each other and hold on pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my speed square and I'm going to use this. I know that on my circular saw, there's about 1 3/8 of an inch between the edge and the blade. So I'm going to put that guide right here, and I'm going to lock it in place and clamp it shut, and then that's going to give me a guide to make sure my first cut is perfectly straight and that it's inside the pencil mark, and I'll show you how to do all the cuts in between. So again, set up using my circle saw as a guide. I'm going to look at my piece. Okay, I have it in the wrong spot a little bit, so I'm going to move it over. Alright, so again, it's always good to double check your measurements. I had it at 1 7/8, not 1 3/8, so it's going to be way too large for where I need to cut it. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so that one there is right there on the edge of my pencil mark, and then you can see it's halfway through the board. Do the same thing on the other side, and then I'm going to take out all the material in between those two lines. Alright, now I'm going to go over and over with the repeated cuts in between these two lines until I can remove all this material out of the way. Alright, so there's that pretty much. You saw how I cut out all those, chiseled them all out, got them to be pretty smooth. Now the one thing, this one's not smooth yet, but to help with sandpaper, if you put the sandpaper around something that's already square, it'll help you sand it a little bit better. Get in, so that way it hits exactly on those grooves. And then get to that corner right there really good. Pretty smooth. Again, you can see half of that board was removed. It's very strong still, but it still has about 1.5 inches or a little bit over that of material. So it's still going to be strong no matter how I put pressure on it. And this piece should just lock in on top. Go in there. Okay, so this one you can see here, I'm going to put together. Okay. It's going to be pretty strong. Again, there's interlocking in there. Inside like that. So this one, I cut on one of the sides is a tiny little bit bigger, so you can move it just a tiny bit. But once that tabletop's on there, it's going to lock it into place. It's not going to be moving, and it's going to be pretty strong. Alright, so that is a half lap joint. When you're having a thick piece of wood like this, like a 4x4, that way you can cut it out, lock them into each other, and have a sturdy, strong table leg.